Hello and welcome back to Stu Structures. I am Mark and we're here to continue the build on the Beanery building with this video 3 in the series, so stay tuned. Okay, so in the second video of the building of the Beanery, we discussed how to come up with dimensions from pictures and a little bit about blowing up maps and things like that to get footprint and dimensions for a building. On this building that I'm building right now, the Beanery, we do not have any blueprints. But I would like to just touch on it. A lot of people can come up with drawings from model magazines, model railroad magazines, and different historical societies and things like that with blueprints that actually have actual dimensions on. So I'm just going to touch briefly on how to go about using those blueprints to put together a scale drawing that you can build your walls and roofs and everything from to build a building that way as well. And then we're going to get started into this build. So let's go a little bit into that and look at some blueprints. Okay, so one of the things I want to look at here, we don't have blueprints for this building, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on dealing with blueprints. I'm going to show the blueprint here that I used for the tower when I started the tower build, and just go over a couple things real briefly for somebody that's never worked with blueprints before, and just show you really how easy it's going to be. The first print you see here is a print that shows all angle sides and all the dimensions for roofs and bracing and all that kind of thing. And I'm just going to break it down here to one of those areas and just show you some details and some of the measurements, and then just give you a brief description here on how to go about doing your drawing to come up with the plan. The first thing you need to do is to find a straight edge or something to work from to make sure everything is square. I'm just using my drawing table, and I have this cutting mat on it that has all these lines on it which are perfectly square, so I just lined my paper up with these to use. You can also use a T-square and just line your paper up with the edge of your desk or something like that. I had previously put some lines on here with pencil, but you can't really see them on this, so I came back through here and marked my 35 foot, which would have been how wide the front of the tower was according to that blueprint plan. After I did that, I decided to come back and darken some things in with marker, because obviously you can't see the line I put on there with paper. But the lines are previously there, but I'm just showing here using my scale rule and using this square and coming off a line on a table, and I know it's square with the line that I put down for the baseline, and getting my 15-foot side wall marked for what would be the edge of the foot or the foundation for the tower. Then I'm coming back to the other side and just doing the same thing on the other end and verifying that with a scale ruler again to make sure I have 15 feet. And then putting that line in permanently with ink. I do like to draw on my original drawings with pencil and then come back and ink them in later. That way any mistakes I did I can easily erase, and then once I'm happy with the drawing, I come back and ink everything in permanently after all that is done. And after all these are done, I know what my heights are, so I'm just coming in here and marking in the back wall, which is 35 feet, the same as the front wall. And once all those are in place, I'm just coming back and re-verifying that everything is square. There's nothing worse than doing all this or laying something out on plastic or whatever and then cutting it out and putting it together and things don't fit right because you just didn't have everything square. The next process is just to cut all the plastic for the walls. After going through those measurements, I came up with the conclusion that I think I'm going to make each of the floors in this building actually 13 feet, which is 12 foot for each floor, and then a foot for in between each floors for the supports for the floors and ceilings and various things like that. So my two-story building down at the end needs to be 26 feet. So I found the rows on the bricks that I need to cut off the top, so I'm going to cut a couple of sheets of these down to the 2 stories. And you can see here, after I marked them, I put this metal edge. I like cutting against a metal edge because it gives you a nice clean cut. If you clamp it down nice and solid, it's not going to move, so you're going to get a good cut. I try to always cut in the mortar joints as well, and this helps to keep my knife aligned with the mortar bricks. And with styrenes, you don't really have to cut all the way through. I go through a lot of knife blades, so if I can make one last a little longer doing a job, but then I try to do that. But after scoring several times, I just come back with these real wide flat plier nosed things and start just bending it a little bit. Then it slowly starts cracking, and then it just will eventually here snap right off nice and clean. Now sometimes it isn't perfect, and what I do at that point is just come back with a piece of sandpaper and just lightly sand the edge as well. It's actually a good idea to put a square block or something on your sandpaper to move this back and cross to make sure you keep the sanded area square. These sheets, when they came, the mold side of them where the injection molding was also a little rough, and I did sand that edge down as well, because it's nice just to have good, clean, straight surfaces when it comes to gluing everything. I'm just going to continue here with cutting brick for walls and laying everything out. I need several of these sheets for the 2-story building, so I'm just repeating that same process, coming back and marking the 2-story sheets, and I'm going to do a bunch of them. And here, once I've got all those cut down, then I need to start cutting the lengths of the walls. So I'm doing just basically the same process, coming down and measuring out what long the walls are, and going through the same process with these clamps and the metal edge to cut each of the 2-story walls to how long they will be now that the height is done. And the same process, just scoring the sheets several times and going a good ways through them. Same thing here. This is the overall sheets for the 2-story walls, and same process once again for that tower, the 3-story walls for that tower. Just coming back once again and scoring those, and just coming back once again, starting to bend those scores once I get them in place, and then once I get them to a certain point, they just snap right off, and relatively clean actually. One thing that I couldn't find when I was looking for the windows and doors for this, there's 2 types of windows and doors. There are windows that go on wood frame structures where there's actually a wood trim piece on the outside of the window that overlaps the wall itself. And then on masonry structures, all your windows and doors actually set back in the masonry product that they're built into in the wall, so they don't overlap the front face of that. Now the windows and doors that I came across for this building, I could not really find in masonry, in wood frame type windows and doors. So I had to buy the wood type and cut off the excess overlap on the front edge to turn them into casement windows. Now this takes a little bit of extra time to the process, but it is able to be done. So if you come across that situation, you can go ahead and take windows and doors and cut them down to make them a masonry window out of a wood frame type of structure like that. So it's just another thing you can overcome if you have to. One thing that I needed on this building that I didn't have were the double wooden doors and the double windows that go in the end of the building and then up on the tower as well. So when I cut down all these windows and doors, what I did was leave center pieces between the plastic of each of them so that I could glue these together like this and cut the transoms off the doors and then put these together so that I could make these doors and windows that would work as doubles like I need for the building. Once I got all this done, I just wanted to lay out some of these walls. So these are the 3 walls that make up that very end unit where the telegraph office would have been. And these are the 4 walls that will make up that tower building. And I think they're going to be nice with the windows and doors the way they are. Another thing I really needed was a set of a door with a window with transom and side lights, and I had ordered these others from Grant Line, but I just after looking at them I just decided they really weren't going to do what I wanted, and I wanted something that was similar to the other doors that I was already using. So I took these parts that are underneath the original Grant Line door that you see in the first picture and cut down the different rounded side lights and stuff, and cut the transom off the door, and just manufactured 3 of these with side lights and the transom above the door as well. And I think it really matches the other doors and stuff in the building that I'm already using. So don't be afraid to jump out there and try things and find things that are right for the situation that you are needing at the time. And then once those doors were all put together, I went through and finished cutting out the walls for buildings 3 and 4, which are both 2-story buildings back behind the tower building, and the last 2 buildings before we get into the 3-story hotel buildings themselves. And actually, I'm very happy with the way this all turned out. It was a lot of trimming down of doors and our window trims and building out doors, and you know, but I like where this is all going. It's going to be a very good looking building when it's all finished. And with that, I'm going to put a close to this segment of this build, and we'll start on the hotel walls in the next session and get those laid out, and talk about some other things we need to be working on in the meantime as well. So we'll pick up there when we come back next time. Okay, so there's this installment of the Beanery. It's going to be a long process, but that bit that I went through was several evenings of work there that you saw accomplished in this video. You know, there's a lot of things you may not have to go through in building any building you're wanting to do, like trimming down the windows, building out doors that you couldn't find in the market, and that type of thing. But I enjoy the process, and I like coming up with a building that really simulates the building that I'm trying to emulate that was there in real life. To me, this is a very pleasurable experience. So I hope you enjoy the buildings that you're wanting to build. I hope some of you are out there trying to learn and build along buildings with me as we go through this. There's a lot of different types of materials and things you can work with. This building will also have some wood and some other things in it as well as we go along. We'll get into some more of that. But should be a very interesting trip going down this road with me. So I want to thank you for coming back and watching my videos. Subscribe down below and hit the bell, and then you'll be notified when the next one comes out. Like and share. I've said this many times, but a lot of people out there don't know this YouTube stuff exists, and there's a lot of good information from a lot of good people out here. I would like to give a shout out to Sparky107107. He has a channel as well. Some of you that watched some of my other videos know that he'd sponsored a contest last year, and I won it. And the profit that I got from that, I was able to buy all these windows, doors, and bricks and stuff for this build, and actually a couple more builds coming up down the road as well. So for those of you that are not familiar with Sparky, he does a lot of good things and helps a lot of people in this hobby. Well, all of us do back and forth, but he's a good person. He has a very good channel. So if you have the opportunity, go and check out his channel and watch some of his videos. He also does some live streams and conversations that are very interesting as well. So with that said, once again, thank you for coming back and viewing my channel. Stay tuned for the next one, which will be up. I'm putting these out a little over a week, I guess, between videos. I do some traveling with work and stuff, so it's my time's kind of consumed with a lot of different things. But in any case, look for the next one in just a little over a week, and we'll continue with this build. So until then, this is your favorite ferroequestrianologist signing off. Happy model railroading.